Hi everyone, my name is Ram and welcome to Cloud Curious. Today I'm curious about one of the offerings from Azure, which is Azure IoT Hub. This video would help you understand the following points that's shown here. The first one being what is an IoT Hub? It will explain what's IoT Hub. And I will also try to present my understanding of why you should use an IoT Hub and what are the situations which will demand to use IoT Hub. We would also show a quick program of how to connect and send messages to IoT Hub. We would also try to see how to view your messages from a default endpoint from a development standpoint. We would also show how to route your messages to Azure storage platform, and then we would also show one of the important features of how you could send commands to the IoT edge device from your IoT Hub. So these are the items that would be covered in this video. Let's start the demonstration. So the first one that we would be asking ourselves is what is an IoT Hub? What is an Azure IoT Hub? Now the textbook definition or Microsoft definition is Azure IoT Hub is a managed service hosted in the cloud that acts as a central message hub for communication between the IoT applications and its attached devices. Now, one of the questions that we would ask ourselves right now is, why would we need an IoT Hub itself? Why can't the applications directly send messages from their devices to the applications? So why would we need something like a IoT Hub in the middle actually? What does it help us? Now, there are some times we would have developed an application whereby there would be a device and that device would send directly message to your application. The application could be on-premise or it could be cloud. Now, when the scale of the application is small, so if you have only one device or if you have up to 10 devices, you would be able to do those kind of applications which directly send messages to your applications instead of going through an IoT Hub kind of platform. But when the scale of your application starts to increase, so if you are saying that I want to receive messages from 100 devices, or if you want to receive messages from 1,000 devices, then that's when a platform like IoT Hub will start to help you, whereby it will try to help you manage some amount of connection management by itself. So it provides you features like it provides you connections for individual devices. So you would be able to manage which devices you are connecting to, or if you want those devices doesn't want to connect, you could then disable those devices. And then if you want to send some updates back into your devices, you could do it through Azure IoT Hub. So that connection management is one of the core modules of IoT Hub. I would not say it would give you 100% connection device management capabilities, but it provides you some basic device management capabilities that if you implement it in the right way, that you would be able to take advantage of it. So that's something, when the scale of your operation changes, then those features will come handy for you. And then with anything in Azure, it provides you a standard framework for your device to framework, security framework for your device to your IoT Hub communication. So those kind of capabilities are there. So that's my assessment of why you should use your IoT Hub basically. So it's got some basic framework for you to help you to onboard your devices and communicate to it. And then when the scale of the operation increases, it would come very much in help for you to do that. So that's my assessment of why you should use Azure IoT Hub. Now, going on to the features, Azure IoT Hub supports the following protocols. They support MQTT, they support AMQP, and then it also supports HTTPS. And it also supports MQTT on WebSockets and AMQP on WebSockets. So these are the protocols that it supports. Next important one is the flow patterns or the communication patterns that Azure IoT Hub supports. The most common communication pattern that most of the IoT applications use is the device to application communication flow. So we need to send telemetry from the devices, like what I've shown here, from the device to cloud here. And yeah, so if you see there is a temperature data going from the device to the application. So this is the most common pattern. The device is sending telemetry informations to your applications. So that is commonly supported by Azure IoT Hub. And then the second pattern is, I've not shown it here, which is application to device. So sometimes you want to send messages from your applications to your device. So that's also supported by Azure IoT Hub. And the third one, which was surprising for me, was if you want to send a command from your application to your device, even that's possible. When I say command, it's like calling a method in your device. So from the IoT Hub, you could call a method in the device. So that's also possible. So that there are three communication patterns which Azure IoT Hub supports. And then what type of messages can you send? Or you could send any text message. So it can be JSON, it can be Avron. So different types of files you could send back. And then I also checked the documentation that you could send images, videos and audios basically. So consider like you got a scenario where you've got a camera which is sitting at a remote location, and you want to send some images occasionally back into your IoT Hub or into your application. Even that can be managed through your IoT Hub. You don't need to go through a separate API to upload these images. So you could send the images also through the IoT Hub, and it can land up at the application end. So that's also possible. And the next point is, so I've got the IoT Hub has received the data. Now, where can I route this data to? So I can route this data to 5 different endpoints. So I've got a built-in endpoint. So built-in endpoint is nothing but it routes by default into an event hub. So that's called built-in endpoint. And then you can route it to a storage container, which is Azure storage platform. And then you could send it to a Cosmos DB. You could send it to a service bus. You could send it to both queues and topics of a service bus. And then you could also send it into a event hub. So this is the 5 routing places where you could send the telemetry information to. The next point is, which I've shown here is, okay, I've chosen IoT Hub as my preferred way of communicating to Azure for the IoT platform. Now I need to develop an edge device or the edge code to send data basically. So how can I do that? So you can do that through 3 different ways. One of the ways is to completely go custom edge development. So that means that you've got some APIs that is exposed by Azure IoT Hub, and you can call these APIs for sending the messages in basically. So that's one of the most custom way that you could do it. And why would you do that way? So that's the first one I have shown here, which is the custom endpoint here, custom edge development. So why would you do that is like some people say that they don't want to use any of the helpers or SDKs provided by the by Azure, so that if they want to shift from Azure to some other provider, then they could do it quickly. So those kind of use cases are handled by that custom edge development. The second one is you are seeing is You could develop a edge module with a help of Azure SDK. So that's what I am using in this demonstrator here. So that's quite one of the easiest way to develop an Azure Edge device, your application for the devices. And the third one is Azure comes up with something called as Azure IoT Edge, which is a Edge framework by itself. So I would try to post a video separately for that. So that's the third approach. So these are three approaches for developing your edge application to send your telemetry information. Now, yeah, with this we will start our demo. So hi everyone, let's start by creating IoT Hub in the Azure portal. So I'm clicking on the Create IoT Hub button. So I'm going to create a free tier. So I've selected my default subscription. Then I'm going to select one of my existing resource group. So I'm going to give my name as IoT Learning. And it's going to be 0906. Then I'm going to give UK South. And then I'm going to select a free tier. Yeah, so it's allowing me to do a free tier. So all other things I'm going to keep it as default. Probably if you are looking for what each of these are saying, please let me know in the comments. I could do a different video for that. And so I'm just jumping to the one that is the last tab, which is review and create. I'm just going to create it. Yeah. So once your IoT Hub is created, the deployment is successfully done, you could navigate to the IoT Hub. And you would see a screen something like this, and it tells that the resource group is the one that we created, and the host name is IoT Learning 0906.azure.devices.net. Yeah, so it's you are landing in the first page, and it has a kind of monitoring capabilities telling you how many messages are sent today. So we have not sent any messages till now, so it's still 0. And then if you navigate to the built-in endpoints, you would notice that there is a Event Hub details. So this is the point that I was mentioning earlier in my presentation, that you can route it to 5 different endpoints, the telemetry information, and the default one is the Event Hub. So by default, if you send a message directly now to the IoT Hub, then it would be sent to this Event Hub, which has been configured here. Now let me try to create one of the devices here. So I'm going to add a new device. I'm going to onboard a new device. Okay. So let's say that my device is test, or it's like device 001. Yeah. And I'm just going to save this. So I've onboarded a device, and now if I go here, I've got some connection details. So it says what's my device ID and what's the primary key and secondary key of that device, and then I've got a connection string. So it gives me 2 connection strings, and within the device you could also have modules within the device, but I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to keep it at the high level, which is device. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the Visual Studio Code now, and I'm going to the terminal of the Visual Studio. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to create a new project, which is .NET new console. So I'm just created a console app now. So this would be a simulated device that we would create as in this particular Visual Studio Code project. And what I'm going to do is just going to copy this code that I already have as part of this. I don't know whether it will work, but we can give it a try. Yeah. Let's check whether this is working. Yeah, so we could see that there is some errors. So let's try to I need the Azure. So I'm going to add a NuGet package for this, which is I think Azure device, I think. So I'm going to add a device called as Microsoft Azure Device Client. And then I've got some versions here. So I think last version I used was 1.42.0, which was the most stable version. So I'm going to select that. And I think that should have got added now. So when I add here, so I think you could see that the errors have gone off. So let me try to do that one more time. So .NET build here. Yeah, so now it's building successfully. Just used the Azure.devices.client SDK for developing this, and then it's looking for an IoT hub connection string. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a device client from this connection, which is connection string. And then once the device is created, so then this is just a cancellation, how to cancel this console. So just don't worry much about this. Then I'm saying that this device.client has a method or a command called as change time collection interval. So this would be demonstrated towards the end of this session. So this was the one that I was mentioning about sending the commands from the IoT Hub. So we would demonstrate that. And then we've got a method called as send vehicle telemetry async. So we are sending the vehicle speed information, like a telemetry information from this program. Now when we go here, so what we have here is we have a JSON which contains the speed and braking information of the vehicle. And then we are encoding that message and then sending that using this device client.send event async. And so let's check whether we are able to get this message as a first step. Before that, I need to change this connection string. This was pointing to one of my earlier connection strings. So let me change that. So let me go there. Let me copy to clipboard and then come here and paste this. Yeah. Now I will save this, do one more round of build. It should get built properly. And let me try to run this. .NET run, I think. So I think you can see that the program is starting to run. Yeah, so you can see that it has started to send some telemetry information. Let's see whether we are receiving this information in the IoT hub here. So if you notice now that you could see that there are a lot more messages that has traveled to the IoT hub from the device. And I have just stopped this program also. So it stopped sending the telemetry information to the device. So if you notice here, so I've got more than 30 messages at least as per the IoT hub here. And then it also says that the messages have come down now. So it's saying 46 messages what it has received. Now, however, I can't see this message anywhere. If I go to the built-in, and I think because the idea is it should go to the built-in endpoint or the default fallback route. So it has something like default fallback route, which is the built-in endpoint. So I would like to go to navigate to that particular built-in endpoint. So what I've done is I've opened one more Visual Studio Code myself. So I would say Event Hub. So if I say select Event Hub in the Visual Studio, so then it says Azure, and then it says then so if you go to your hub settings and check on your built-in endpoints, you would notice that you would have the Event Hub details. So you could copy the Event Hub compatible endpoint and then come back to your one of the Visual Studio. You could install one of the plugin named as extensions called Azure Event Hub, and then you could go into the settings of this one and then paste this endpoint over here. So now this endpoint, this extension would start listening to this endpoint. So if you now go to your Event Hub's menus like this, start monitoring the Event Hub menu message. So the Visual Studio window would start receiving messages from your Event Hub. Now, if I go and start sending the message by clicking on my program saying .NET Run, you would notice that the message is starting to send. And if I now come to the other Visual Studio Code, you would notice that I've started receiving the messages. So this is the way that you could monitor the messages from your Visual Studio Code by using the Azure Event Hub's plugin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the monitoring here. So I'll just go one more time and just say stop monitoring Event Hub message. So it says stop, and then you don't receive any messages. Then I go to the other window and then stop my program. I just say Control C and just say, yeah, that's it. So now let's try to create a routing endpoint to route the messages to the storage container. So I'm just going to say storage, and I'm just going to say so I'm just going to pick a container, and I'm just going to pick this one, and I'm just going to say, just say JSON, and then say create a next. The route is getting created. So we are going to route the messages from our IoT hub to a storage container. Yeah. So I'm just skipping the enhancements basically. Just given a name. So let's navigate to the Azure storage containers, and if I navigate to this one, you can notice if I go to the containers and then go to vehicle telemetry, you can notice that I've got two folders here. This is the one that I'm right now using. Then I go inside 2024, 6th month, 10th. And if you notice, I've got a file here. So if I download this file, so you could see that all the messages that we sent is being available over here. So speed is 29 and braking is 5. So that's being sent back into the Azure storage container. So that's the way you could route your messages from your Azure IoT Hub to the storage services. The next one that we want to demonstrate is to call a method from your Azure IoT Hub to the devices basically. So if you go to the direct method here, then you should have your program running. So I'm just going to run this program, and then you should say which method you want to call. So you say that I want to change the time collection interval. So basically I'm just going to call the change time collection interval, and then you could say the interval is 5 seconds that I want to set. So this is the payload that you're going to send. And let's see what I've done in this method. Yes, so I've got so based on the currently it's sending for every 2 seconds I'm sending the message. So once I send that 5000 milliseconds, then it would be sending the message. This method would be called. So let's invoke the method. So you've got a status payload of about 200. And now if you come back to the program, you would notice that there is a collection time interval was called, and then for every 5 seconds the message would be called now. Every 5 seconds the telemetry information is sent. With this, I think we have come to the end of this video. I believe it would have helped you understand what's IoT Hub and what are the major features in IoT Hub. And if you're trying to develop a solution with that, what you really get out of IoT Hub. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for your time. See you. Bye.